To our first question, in straightforward terms, what is compliance and what kinds of responsibilities do brands actually have when launching in the US or EU?
A lot of different brands have different viewpoints, and what many brands think the answer to that question is that the factory said they have it taken care of, and you should never rely on your factory. Even if they did take care of, you should make sure yourself it's really all there. What it means is going to depend on the product. A simpler product, a toy, a children's product, it needs certain kinds of testing, which is going to be different in each country. And if you have that testing and it passed, there's some labeling requirements, or that's usually included in the testing. If you pass the testing, you pass the labeling. That's what you need. You're going to need to make sure that they tested the right stuff to the right requirements, that it's current, that it really passed. A lot of factories will do the testing and they'll leave out things. Sometimes it's obvious why they left it out because it's a problem. Sometimes they just left it out because some things were undetermined, like they sell the same thing to 5 different places. So you need to identify who the distributor is, and the labeling, they don't know. So that won't be in the testing. It needs to be in the testing. It's a minor thing that means you're not passing, even in a label, is a very serious problem if the right people notice that, or maybe from your viewpoint, if the wrong people notice that. If it's electronics, there's more sophisticated testing that's needed. It's usually referred to as UL, but UL is a private company who wrote a lot of the original regulations, but there's others who do the same thing, ETL, and there's a whole list of them. But UL and ETL are the most famous of them. Now, if you sell in certain stores for in-store applications, will require UL certification, which is more than testing. That requires factory quarterly inspections, and they check out all your incoming parts and supplies, and they have to be approved. It's much more involved because the suppliers have to be approved, the components have to be approved, everything. And then they check every quarter. That's to make sure you're still buying all the same stuff and making it the same way. That's usually only required. It's not required on a toy, on a regular toy, or on clothing. If you have cosmetics, we're in the infancy of cosmetic regulation. Several years ago, somebody in the cosmetics business realized that we put it all over our skin. It goes into our skin, into our bodies, and no one ever thought about what's in it and what it does to us. It turns out a lot of horrible stuff was in cosmetics that makes our skin age early and get sick and all kinds of things. Right now in the United States, we have the basic regulations, because when the government does something, it takes a long time. Eventually it'll become more. Right now, you need to register your factory and your product so that the government can pick up a product in a store and be able to trace it back to who made it. So if there's a problem, and the only problems would be if someone complained about it. But if there's a problem, someone got a horrible rash or got deathly ill, at least they know who did it. And you don't want to be that person, but you have to register. That's called MOCRA. Eventually, they're going to add on to it. There's going to be specific testing required to make sure certain things aren't there. There's going to be a quality system required for the factory that makes it, to make sure it's consistent, similar to how UL certifies things, but we're not there yet. And then there's label requirements, what's written on your label, what's in the ingredients. If you put it in on purpose, there are rules about what there are certain things can't be there. You want to make sure those are okay. Food and dietary supplements have more requirements. Medicine, medical devices have more requirements. It becomes bigger and bigger. The more medical devices you understand, it's supposed to cure something. But they have to be registered. Sometimes it needs approvals if it's something new. You can't just test it at the end. That ain't gonna work. A lot of things work until they don't, until somebody notices. And there are companies who do that and they think they're in a great position. But when it doesn't work very badly. And their brands can be shut down depending on how serious it is.